Well, that's a lot more like it, if you ask me. Philadelphia Eagles come away with the 28-3 victory over the New York Giants, improved to 4-2 on the season. Welcome into the betPARX postgame show from Parx Casino in Bensalem, just 20 minutes north of Center City, Philadelphia. We are presented by Lehocky, and I'm Marc Farzetta. This is Eagles Hall of Famer Seth Joyner, and that right there is Derrick Gunn, Eagles veteran reporter. Gentlemen, we were joking about this while watching the game during the fourth quarter. This is the type of game that you watch and you see all the sacks happen with the Eagles defensive line and the Eagles linebacker, and you see the way the defense attacked in this game. Then you also see another clean game by Jalen Hurts, and of course, amongst the biggest thing, Saquon Barkley's dynamic return to MetLife Stadium against the New York Giants. 176 yards on the ground, runs of 55 yards, 38 yards, 41 yards, dominated in every aspect today. And this is the type of thing that if you get a caller or a tweet or somebody saying in our comments before the game, oh, Eagles are going to blow them out, 28-3, we're laughing at it and say, no, they're not good enough to do it. Today, they were good enough to do it, Seth, and it's about damn time.
I said 30-14.
You called the blowout.
You did. Yes, you did.
But you're not a caller. You're not a commenter. If you were in my timeline, I'd be worried.
Hey, listen, there's still going to be some backlash. Jalen Hurts only had with 10 for 14 for 114 yards. So somebody is going to sound the alarm, D Gun. Well, we can't throw the ball. Hey, listen, I told you baby steps, and the impressive thing about this game today is that Kellen Moore and Nick Sirianni made the decision to stick with the running game once they figured out that it was working. One of the most impressive drives was they had 5 plays for 74 yards. All 5 of them were run plays. Yeah. Ended in a Saquon Barkley touchdown. And, I think that kind of sets the table for the direction this team needs to go. Listen, we want this offense to be prolific. We want Jalen Hurts to come out and throw for 275 yards every single week. But certain aspects of the game lends itself to the game turning out the way that it does. I always say that this team, when they have success with something, they don't stick with it. But what you saw today was a team that figured out that they could run the ball, that they could make it happen with a motivated Saquon Barkley, and they stuck with it, and it won them the football game today. And then on the other side of the ball, just the impressive performance. And I get it. People say, well, it was the Giants. Well, get used to it because they're going to play 2 other teams in the next 2 games back-to-back that aren't overly impressive. The thing is, you got to beat the teams that are on your schedule. You don't get the chance to play the 49ers and the Chiefs and teams like that every single week. So you play who you play. They got to go out and win games, keep stacking these wins, try to keep up, with Washington in the division and figure out, how to navigate that and win the division. But baby steps, small steps. Impressed by what the offense, was able to do. Impressed with the offensive coaches and them shifting their mindset to stop trying to force a square peg into, a round hole. But also on the defensive side of the ball, for Vic Fangio to stay true to who he was last week and continue to put pressure on. And obviously the defensive line with 8 sacks. I mean, what more can you say?
This time last week, exactly. You were talking, Seth, about baby steps.
Mm-hmm.
Gunnar, this time last week, you were talking about a get-right game. Yeah. Maybe they had that against the Browns, despite everything that happened post-game and since then. But a get-right game. Well, this is a game the Eagles look to get it right in almost every aspect of the game, especially when you talk about a Giants team that was leading in the fourth quarter, going up against the Commanders, going up against the Cowboys. And the Eagles dominated this game today, 28-3. I think they got right, at least for this one.
This is the first time I could use the word complete in terms of their overall performance on both sides of the ball. Kudos to Kellen Moore and Nick Sirianni and the entire offense for realizing early that you didn't need to throw the ball 30, 35 times against this team to be successful. It took them a little while in the first quarter, and we can omit, by the way, they didn't score points again in the first quarter, but they identified, and as Seth was talking in the green room, stop trying to run the ball at the teeth of this Giants defense. hit him to the outside. All of a sudden, boom, Saquon goes to the outside, and he's off to the races. When was the last time we saw an Eagles team run the ball 45 times in a game for 270 yards? Saquon Barkley had 176 yards rushing after 3 quarters. And they basically said, man, you know what, you're done. You wore him out. You got your revenge. Saquon kept quiet all week about his feelings about going back to MetLife Stadium, said all the right things, didn't give the Giants any bulletin board material, but we talked about it on the pregame show. We knew this was eating him up inside by the way the Giants let him go and how it portrayed itself on that Hard Knocks show back in August. And, man, did he unleash. It took him a while to get going, but once he unleashed, they couldn't stop him. And then he started attacking the Giants in the middle of their defense. Once they wore him out on the outside of the defense, they still couldn't stop him. They built on something. They barely survived against a very bad Cleveland team last week. The Giants are a bad team, and they really built on something today. Here's the thing I like the most, to play to Seth's strength, which is the defense. This was the best tackling game I've seen them play all year long. They didn't miss tackles. They were not out of positions. They were exactly what they were supposed to be. Everything that Vic Fangio threw at the Giants worked to perfection. Now let's hope they can build on this. What they built last week, they enhanced this week. Let's hope they can continue to build that for next week's encounter as well.
You know, last week I talked about, and I don't know if I talked about it in the pre or the post game, but I certainly talked about it in my TV show and on my podcast about the idea of making Jalen Hurts a game manager. Now, and I get it. At the end of the day, you don't pay a guy $51 million per year, a $250 million contract, for him to be a game manager. But when your quarterback is struggling and your offensive coordinator is kind of struggling to figure out what their identity is going to be, I think sometimes you have to do that. You got to be reserved to do that, to be able to take a step backwards as a coaching staff and as a quarterback and say, okay, we're going to minimize the number of attempts that we ask you to throw the football. We're going to try to put you in a better situation by running the football and then go and play action pass off of that. I still think that there were opportunities for them to have some passing plays down the field off of the way that they were actually running the ball. But, they were so successful at it. It's like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Yeah. And I love to see that from this team, because there are times when they have success with something and they never go back to it. They had early success with A.J. Brown on the comeback route. They went back to it a couple of times. Smart move. They had success running the football, and they stuck with it all day long. Stick with what's working until the defense proves to you that they can't, that they can stop it. And if they don't prove that they can stop it, then you feed them a steady diet of the same exact thing until you ensure that you got the game won. And that's the encouraging thing when I think about this win today, is they stuck with what was working.
Yep. They certainly did. And when it comes to a game like this, I know it was the Giants, but again, it's not about who you played. It's about the mistakes the Eagles were making repeatedly. Now, we know the Eagles still haven't cracked the code just yet, unfortunately, is scoring in the first quarter. And I know Nick Sirianni was pretty cocky and confident last week that that's something that they would eventually correct. But once they figured out what was working for them in this game, they certainly kept going to that well. But I'll ask you this question again. Understanding that they played against the New York Giants, I don't see the Giants as being a playoff team by any means. What was it in this particular game that looked different with the Eagles versus what we have seen, not just in the previous 4 games this season, or 5 games this season, but also going back to last year? What was different about this? Was it just Jalen Hurts being able to protect the football, him not putting the pigskin on the turf up there at MetLife Stadium? Was it the defense being as aggressive as they were? What was working from them from almost a schematic standpoint in this game today against the New York Giants?
I'm going to say it's a combination of a lot of things. I loved how Fangio kept the pressure up on Daniel Jones. We've been screaming about why are you trying to attack with just a 4-man front? That doesn't work. He was bringing blitzes from different angles all day. The guys on the back end were covering their men. They weren't giving Daniel Jones any openings to throw to, which led to a lot of those sacks. The defensive line played well, didn't give up a lot of big runs. Offensive line, here's the thing. Go to the offensive line. They start this game without their Pro Bowl left tackle, Jordan Mailata. Early in the game, they lose their big right guard, Mekhi Becton. So you're playing without 2/5 of your starting offensive line, and they're still hammering away at a defensive line that's not a bad defensive front at all. You hammered away. You demoralized. By halftime, you demoralized that defensive line. So it's a combination of a lot of things. Every game is not perfect. There's very few so-called perfect games in the National Football League. It comes down to making big plays. But this game for the Eagles on both sides of the football was about as close as you can come to being perfect in a game.
I know we're hoping to get a guest in here for the post-game show, and I'm very excited when we have this guest. So we're going to keep it a little tight on the front end of the show. And then next segment, we're going to be talking about some of the things that worked phenomenally well, because there was one difference that I saw defensively. Seth, you and I were talking about this when it came to what Vic Fangio had his defensive backs doing in this game. It was a drastic change from what we have seen in the early goings of the Vic Fangio era here in Philadelphia running that defense. You're watching the betPARX post-game show on the Seth Joyner Show YouTube channel. Make sure you hit like and subscribe. Also, that notification bell as well, and also on 6abc.com. Back in a few. There's a look at the betPARX Sportsbook. Always a great time here at Parx Casino.
It's happening again. Those missed tackles are starting to stack up. Your friends pleading with players who can't hear them. Sweating it out week after week. But not you. Why? Because whether they score or not, there's always another way to win on the betPARX app. New casino users score up to $1,000 bonus back in their first 24 hours.
Stick to the code. I'm in my zone. Let's go. Let's go. I'm back in my bag. I'm wrecking the wins and it's making them.
You've got your Sunday obsession, and we got you. Now with Verizon, get NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube TV on us and get every out-of-market Sunday game. Plus $800 off Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6. Only on Verizon.
See you Sunday.
Most people don't know how to get the care they need. The experts at Stay at Home Care can help. Before choosing a caregiver or family member for your care, you need to apply for the Home Care Program. The application process can be complicated. Stay at Home Care can help you navigate through every step. Once approved, your caregiver or family member will receive guaranteed weekly pay, a variety of medical benefits options, paid holidays, paid vacation, and overtime pay. Call Stay at Home Care, here to help every step of the way.
This next segment is brought to you by Parx Casino. Welcome back to Parx Casino in Ben Salem. Over 3,200 slot machines right here at Parx Casino. This is the betPARX postgame show presented by Lehocky, Marc Farzetta, Seth Joyner, and Derrick Gunn. We are joined right now by a running back who ran for more yards against the New York Football Giants than any other team he played against in his career. Without further ado, let's talk to our friend, number 36, B. West. Oh, my goodness. Brian Westbrook joins the show. How you doing, Brian?
I'm doing well, fellas. How's it going over there?
I'm doing we're doing fantastic. Appreciate you getting in touch with Derrick Gunn as well to come on the show. We appreciate you joining us. First and foremost, it's the first almost complete win there by the Philadelphia Eagles in quite some time. Also, their first back-to-back wins in quite some time. Your reaction to this Eagles win over the Giants?
Well, listen, anytime you can win against a division opponent, it's a good win. And I think they came out and they did some of the things that they wanted to get accomplished. They ran the ball well. I think, they did a great job of putting the ball in the playmakers' hands. And really, to me, that's always been A.J. Brown and Saquon Barkley. And then when you look on the defensive side of the ball, that front seven, that front four came to play. They pressured the quarterback. They made things hard on Daniel Jones, and they found a way to win.
B, I know everybody wants to talk about football, man. I want to know how your golf swing is doing, bro.
Hey, last time I was out there with Seth, things went, they had some good shots, had a lot of bad shots. I'm still working. It's a work in progress.
I hear you. Mine too, brother. Hey, listen, as a former running back, man, you have got to have looked at this game today and just been drooling from your couch. To have an offensive coordinator to call 45 running plays in the game. Tell me what you thought, because I thought I would never see such a thing. The last time we had that was in week 2 and week 3 of last year, I believe.
Well, listen, anytime you have Saquon back there, and listen, I'm going to start with this. I know the coach wants to get Jalen Hurts involved early. I know they want to get him going early. But to me, you have a guy that's a proven commodity back there in Saquon. You start him early. You allow the run to set up the pass. And I know the league has kind of gotten away from that thought process. They want the pass to set up the run. But you have a home run hitter back there that can go off at any time. The more touches that he gets, the better that he becomes. And so I would always start with Saquon, and then I would start to ease in Jalen Hurts and his ability to throw the ball. They want to get him some confidence throwing the ball down the field. I understand that. Start with Saquon, make it easy on Jalen. Now he can get some uncontested throws out to his receivers. But listen, anytime you can run the ball the way that they did, dominating up front, and, listen, early in the game, you're saying you're trying to run Saquon up the middle. That wasn't working. As soon as they had the ability to get to the outside, he hits a big one. And then they ran a couple big ones outside. And guess what happened after that? It opened up the big runs up the middle. And so, the coaches, when you have this type of game, the coaches have an easy job. Just hand the ball off the 26. You saw Gainwell get a couple big runs up the middle, too. This is a type of game that it's a running back dream. You wear them down just a little bit and just hand us the ball and allow us to control the football game.
One more little piece, B, before sorry, Derrick.
Yeah.
So this is the thing that concerned me at a portion of the game. On the fourth possession of the game, the Eagles had a 5-play, 74 yards. All 5 of those plays were run plays. Ended with a Saquon Barkley, 5-yard, with a Saquon Barkley touchdown. They came back in the 5th, 6th, and 7th possessions. They had 12 total plays, and they only ran the ball 3 times. 3 times. So these are the kind of things that really concern me about this team when you talk about having something that works and then sticking with it. Then they go on another run on the 8th possession, and they got 10 plays for 74 yards. 6 of those plays are Barkley runs. Why is it so hard for teams sometimes to just basically stick with what works instead of wanting to infuse their will into trying to make something happen? Because in those 3 possessions, they went 3 and out.
Yeah. I see this in the business world all the time. You see people trying to justify their paychecks. And I think Kellen Moore is going to be a fine offensive coordinator. But you don't have to overcomplicate this thing. If something's working, stick with it until they can stop it. This league is just about that. If the pass to Travis Kelce continues to work, Andy Reid continues to call that until they stop it. Then you go on to the next thing. And unfortunately, Kellen Moore says, okay, they can't stop the run. Let's try to something else, and then we'll get back to the run. No, let's make them stop the run today. If they can't stop the run today, then I'm going to run it down their throat until they figure something else out. And then that opens up something else. And so, unfortunately, I think there's too many times we say, hey, we're doing this well. We're not going to keep doing it. We're going to try something new. And that's just not how football works. I think that the great football coaches say, I know what they can't stop, and I'm going to run that until they try to stop it. That gets them out of what they want to do defensively. Now I can throw the ball down the field. It makes the game so much easier when you do it that way. We don't have to complicate this thing at all. Football is already hard enough.
Hey, Brian, you watch this team as closely as we do. You go to the home games. You've seen how inconsistent they've played up until this point. As you sat down and analyzed this game in your mind today before kickoff, what were you hoping to see, and how much different or the same was it in terms of what you were expecting to see?
Well, offensively, I said, and it kind of turned out this way. It's no magic. Get the ball to 11, get the ball to 26. Don't overcomplicate this thing. A.J. Brown is unstoppable on any in-breaking route. And because of that, he's almost unstoppable in any out-breaking route. And because of those two things, anytime he wants to run to go, he's absolutely unstoppable. So get the ball to him as many times as you possibly can. Allow Saquon to lead the way offensively. That takes the pressure off of Jalen Hurts, which I still think he can be a quality quarterback. His decision-making process is all messed up. It's slowed down, way too slow at this point. That's why he's holding on to the ball. That's why you're seeing some of these terrible sacks that he's taking. So they have to figure that thing out. And defensively, pressure the quarterback. Make Daniel Jones beat you with his arm and not his legs. They just did a great job up front. Sometimes it was bringing 5-man pressure. Sometimes it was just the front four finding a way to get to the quarterback. And really, that was the tail of the tape. Front four, get to the quarterback, get the ball to your playmakers on the offense. And that's how simple football can actually be when you do it the right way.
I want to go back to the comment you just made about Jalen's decision-making being so slow. It's very easy for us as, fans and media people to watch the game without actually seeing the all 22 to make that assertion that his decision-making is too slow. Like, I have this habit. Every time I see him get the ball in his pass, the minute he gets it, I'm like, get it out your hand. Get it out your hand. It just comes out. You understand what I'm saying? But there was one play where I saw he got sacked, and they showed it from behind, and you could actually see the full route, everything that was developing and going on. And there wasn't a soul open. Not a single soul open. Now, the Eagles don't run a lot of routes where, when they got zone, they sit a guy down in a zone. Where they had one play today where he checked down to Saquon and Saquon turned it into a first down. They don't do a lot of that. So to the naked eye, you're looking and you're like, his decision making is too slow. But a lot of their routes are up the field. A lot of their routes are deep routes. A lot of their routes are breaking off at 12 to 15 yards, and those routes take time. And they don't have that safety valve underneath, that in-cutting route or the running back and the F under to check down where right now he can see, oh, it's not there, let me check it down. So What's the remedy?
Well, Seth, those are just badly designed plays. You can't have guys going 12, 15 yards downfield and no one checking over the ball or an outlet for your quarterback to throw the ball to. That just doesn't make sense. Those are badly designed plays. There are other plays where I know Jalen is just not getting the ball out. And part of that is this, and this is just a quarterback 101. You walk up to the line of scrimmage, you understand what the defense is giving you. I have a good idea because of my tape study, because of my experience being a quarterback, that, okay, this side, I'm going to get a blitz from the right side. I got to let the ball go to the left a little bit faster or get the ball out of my hands. That's experience. Jalen has the experience to do that. He should know these things. So that's part of that. The other part is, when you walk up, you say, I have an idea of what they're going to do, and maybe they do something different. Okay, where are my answers? Where are my man beaters? Too many times in this offense, and I think this is what you're saying, Seth, too many times in this offense, you don't have the beaters to go against the coverage that you're doing. Maybe that's a check down. Maybe that's just a tight end that's the delayed, that's just kind of standing there waiting for the football. But too many times in this offense, everybody is running an all go, and there's no one to check over the ball. I remember this. We have 3 or 4 receivers out in the pass, and the defense is dropping back. Linebackers are 15 yards deep. I catch the ball on a check down, 5-yard check down, and because there's 10 yards between me and the linebackers, now I got 10 yards to do anything I want. And if I'm in space with a linebacker, it's my job. Saquon's much better at it than I was. That I'm going to make that first man miss, and then I'm going to try to make a bigger play out of that situation. Too many times they don't have that, and it affects Jalen. So, I mean, yeah, it's twofold. They have to have better route combinations, and they have to have a safety valve. But Jalen has to make better reads. There's a couple plays where you're seeing Devontae running across the field wide open. And even if, Seth, you go back to the play that you're talking about, everyone's going deep. Even if you say, okay, no one is open, as a quarterback, the one thing you can't do, I can't run 15 yards deep trying to make a play and then get sacked. I would rather him throw the ball away, not take the hit, not lose the yardage, and it looks much better on film as well. And so there's a couple of different things going on there. They have to clean up all those things that they want to be great against the good defenses and the offenses that can score against our defense as well.
Brian, I want to talk to you as obviously the former player, but what kind of win like this do for a locker room when you talk about beating the Browns, everybody talking about what Nick Sirianni was doing after the game, as opposed to Cooper DeJean or Jalen Hurts actually going out there and playing a good, solid, clean football game. A win like that, and then a win like today where you win convincingly for the first time in a long time against a divisional opponent in the New York Giants. What's a win like this do for that Eagles locker room?
Well, anytime you can get 2 in a row, it starts the ball rolling. That's what you want as a team. I don't really care who is it against. We can play the worst teams in the league. We can very easily lose to a bad team, right? So, you want the ball to start rolling, get some confidence in yourself, and we just can't overlook the fact that bringing A.J. Brown back changes this offense. It's a totally different offense. Anytime it's 3rd and 3, you could just lob the ball up to 11. Anytime that it's 3rd and 3, you hit them with a quick slant. This is a different offense, different type of confidence. And these types of wins build confidence in the team, and you start to say, okay, well, if this good defense that was leading the league in sacks, that just did a great job, even though they pressured us and they got to our quarterback an awful lot, we still put up a lot of points. We stood up with 28 points, whatever it was, towards the end of the game. And so we can do some things that no one expected us to be able to do. This allows us to be confident offensively. In the defense, they just need to keep playing like they're playing. They're getting after the quarterback. They're covering well on the defensive end. They're not allowing big yards in the run game. So in the end of the day, these are confidence-building wins. Anytime you can put a win in your pocket, that's a great thing for a football team.
Hey Brian, if what we just saw in this game is the blueprint for what's to come, are you confident that this team has turned the corner, or do you still need to see maybe one or two more sample sizes before you can determine what is or what isn't?
I'm always a show me type of guy, and as much as confidence I would have as a team right now, this is two different things. Me as an analyst, I'm saying, well, listen, the Browns are terrible and the Giants aren't that much better, right? They've been playing a little bit better, but everyone's jumped on their bandwagon. But I look at their team and I don't see anybody that I say, hey, you know what? This is a team that we have to worry about. So as an analyst, I'm saying you just played two bad teams and you beat them. That's a great thing. But as a team, if I'm inside that locker room, again, I go back to allow the snowball to start to build. I want this thing to run down the hill. And we just won 2 games in a row. It's hard to win in the NFL, especially winning 2 games in a row. One of those games being on the road against a division rival. So listen, I'm allowing this thing to run. I'm allowing the confidence to continue to build the excitement inside of our locker room. It doesn't matter who we play. We just want to be excited about the wins.
B, appreciate having you on, man. One more question before we let you go. I've been associated with it before. I don't know if you have. I can't speak to that because my memory doesn't go back that far. But when you're playing in a game and the defense is dominating the way that the Eagles are dominating today, what's the mindset on the offensive side of the ball? The Giants had 12 possessions in this game. Do you know they punted 11 times? 11 times. That blows my mind, man.
Yeah, so these are the types of games, and listen, I didn't expect the score to go up the way that it did, but these are the type of games offensively that you're thinking, just give me the ball back. Because of the running back, I see the coach, he's handing it off. He's believing that I'm going to get these touches. Jalen only ended with 14 pass attempts. Now I know I'm going to touch the ball. I just want the defense to get the ball back to me as quickly as possible because you're not worried about stats, but you also realize that these are the games that your stats come from. These are the games that you say, feed me and allow me to get these yards because I know that there are going to be these tough games where you say, hey, I'm not going to get a lot of touches. The last game for Saquon, he didn't get as many touches, not as many yards. So I need these types of games to keep things going and keep my confidence up as a runner as well. And so these are important games to a football team. These are important games to an offensive staff. We can get it done running the football, even in the game where Jalen didn't have his typical 200-plus yard game. We were able to win and beat a decent football team, especially on the defensive side of the ball, by running it down their throat. That's demoralizing. That's one of those things that when the Giants turn on the film, they're going to be looking like, oh, these guys kicked our butt. And number 26 that used to be up here, he's down there now. He's part of the big part of the reason why they kicked our butt.
Brian, I know you've dabbled in children's literature. You've written a children's book. We know you're always working on your golf game, of course. What else you doing these days, my friend?
I run a couple businesses. I have an engineering staffing business, Westbrook Project Solutions, we're very proud about. We also have a real estate development business, BBB Development, named after my kids. And so your business is booming. Things are going really well. I'm excited about the opportunities, especially in the Philadelphia market. I'm super excited about this football team, even more so. And so I'm hoping that this team does well this year. I'm praying for them. I'm watching them every single game, and I'm still cheering them on no matter what. And so we're super excited about Philadelphia and all the opportunities there.
And all that, and you still had time to join us. How about that?
Thank you, man.
B. West, thanks so much, brother.
All right, take care, guys.
Yeah.
Take care. The great Brian Westbrook joining us right there. How great is that? Certainly, I always forget. I always remember him running laps around the Cowboys. New York Giants are the team he put up the most yards on. Not too shabby. And what a game for him to join us and also break down, especially when it came to Saquon Barkley. Yep. When we come back, we're going to break down what the Eagles got going on a little bit further as far as our comments go, what you people are saying about this game today, and the Eagles walking away with the 28-3 victory over the New York Giants. the 360 Lounge here at Parks Casino in Ben Salem. Enjoy some great music, great vibes, and great drinks.
At Pond Lehocky Giordano, we understand the impact an injury can have on your life. Our experienced attorneys have recovered billions of dollars for our clients, and we know we can do the same for you. One conversation is all it takes to help you and your family get back on track. If you've been injured at work, give Pond Lehocky a call.
Since 1893, Weber Display and Packaging has been Pennsylvania's leading manufacturer of corrugated packaging and displays. We're family-owned with 4 Philadelphia locations, 2 converting facilities, a warehouse, and a fulfillment center. Designed through delivery, we exceed customer needs. Weber Display and Packaging. Our core values drive everything we do. Come, join our team.
This is Parks.
This is how you roll. This is how it goes. This is how you pop. This is how you rock. Take a chance, do a dance, little romance. This is how you. This is how you excite. This is how you all night. 360 hit me. Now we're going all in. I can feel it calling. The crowd, the light, the night, the sights, the vibe is right. This is how you. This is
Parks, Pennsylvania's #1 casino experience. This is how you win.
At Revolution X, we know that fortunes are made in times of uncertainty. Are you selling your investment real estate? Are you interested in deferring your tax with a 1031 exchange? At RevX, we're experts in 1031 exchange planning and the use of passive real estate options using DSTs. Not in the midst of an exchange and want to invest in real estate but don't know where to start? Revolution X has institutional-grade real estate options for any size investor right now. Set up a consultation at RevXWealth.com. RevX, defer the tax, maximize the gain.
This next segment is brought to you by Pond Lehocky. Welcome back to the betPARX post-game show presented by Pond Lehocky. Marc Farzetta, Seth Joyner, and Derrick Gunn with you. Before we bring in Bailey Livesey, our social media director, we're going to talk a little bit about our player to bank on, brought to you by Mid-Penn Bank. We talked about it before the game. You could say it's pretty easy, and it was today for this guy, Saquon Barkley. 17 rushes, 176 yards, also got himself a touchdown. And one of the most impressive things about his performance today, gentlemen, 10.4 yards per carry. More than doubled the yards per carry that the New York Giants had against any other running back this season. Jeez. That is, they went into this game averaging against running backs 4.9 yards per carry. Saquon said, yeah, why don't I just double that today? I mean, this was a historic performance. You can also say this, Seth. Cedric Benson, they put it up during the game today. This was the second most yard total, second most yards a running back had ever had against his former team in his return against that former team. Historic performance.
Listen, it was impressive. And D-Gun, I would venture to say he was highly motivated, but he was quiet about it.
You know what, Seth? You've played with players who are motivated by certain situations. Mm-hmm. You were motivated as a player by certain situations. Some players are very verbose about it, and they go out there and lay a golden egg. The best thing you can do is what Saquon did. Stay quiet. Don't get caught up in the hype. Don't give in any of the media anything that they can hold on to and feed to the opposition. Just go out there and do your job, because as we talked about on that pregame show, you know he was just chomping at the bit to get out there and explode today. Nobody could have imagined. We thought it would be good. We didn't think it would be this good. I mean, 176 yards on 17 carries? I mean, some running backs need 30 carries to get close to that. 17 carries? That man's going to sleep extremely well tonight.
Yeah, and they're not going to sleep well in North Jersey.
No.
I'll tell you this, in my first trip back to, Philadelphia, I just wanted to play well. Not only did I want to show the fans that I appreciated them, but, I wanted to come back and play well. I wanted to play well against my former teammates. But to watch Saquon do what he did today, it's a different mentality, because, you try not to outwardly, talk about it during the week, but it's something that's just like that sparks your soul, because you know everybody in the organization, you know all the players, you know those coaches on the other side of the field, and you know that they know what you're capable of. But when the game starts, it's a whole different vibe, because I always said, coaches can draw up X's and O's on the board all they want. They can come with all these schemes and all these theories, but when the game starts and the opponent is trying to take your head off, and those X's and O's that were up on the board are now breathing and being aggressive and moving and not lining up and doing some of the things that you thought that they would do, that's where the rubber truly meets the road. So Saquon could have came into this game believing that he was going to have a day like today, but to actually be able to go out and do it on 17 carries, I take my hat off to him, man.
Let me ask you this. How difficult is it when you, and I don't like to use the word revenge game, but you do when you do play your former teams, you want to be special. How much in terms of game preparation leading up to the game and during the game do you have to harness your energy so that you're not out of position, that you're not making mistakes, that you're not missing a concept because you want to do something singular to stand out?
Sometimes it really depends on how mature you are in a lot of situations, because for my money, your preparation should be the same every week. I don't care whether you're playing against the basement team, in your division, or whether you're playing against your former team that you spent 5, 6, 7, 8 years. Your preparation should always be the same. But from a maturity standpoint, you understand how the game is supposed to be played, that you can't go willy-nilly. You got a job to do, and everybody else across the board has got a job to do. And when everybody's doing their job across the board, and there's 11 guys, if I can get 7 to 8 guys on every single play doing their job to the maximum, then we have a tremendous chance of being successful on that play. It's when it begins to break down, and sometimes even if one guy makes a mistake, it's a problem. But just being mature enough to say, okay, I'm playing at a heightened level. My intensity is raised, but I got to do my job first. I got to make sure that I secure my area and then go to the ball. And the plays that come to me to be made, those opportunities I got to capitalize on, and I got to make those plays. But I can't go and make a play for Clyde on the other side of the field. I can't make a play for Byron if I'm lined up at tight end or over a tight end and he's off the ball. That's not my job. My job is to maintain, contain, and make any plays that come my way to defeat the tight end and make anything that comes from C-gap out.
All right, that's what you guys are saying about this game. Let's check in on social media. Bailey Livesey, our social media coordinator, standing by right now. Bailey, how are you? What are the good people saying?
I'm great. Well, let's get started. This looked like a refreshed football team today. In your opinion, did the offense or defense perform better?
Ooh, that's a good question.
That is a great question.
Ooh. Wow.
On one hand, you look at Jalen Hurts and say, well, the offense wasn't that great. Look at the quarterback, but look at the run game. Defense, you look at all the sacks that were mounted up there, the lack of missed tackles.
But then you look at Saquon and you say the offense was phenomenal.
Right, yeah.
That's hard to answer, man.
It's a tough question.
Wow.
Are we stumped? Bailey, I believe they have stumped the panel. Gunner, do you have a way to weigh in here?
I'm going to lean, as well as the defense played today, I'm going to lean towards the offense for one reason. They were down 2/5 of the starting offensive line, and they blew the Giants off the ball 45 times. I can't say they ran the ball 45 times, man, for 270 yards on this Giants front seven. That's a great question, but if push comes to shove, I'm going to just lean towards the offense for that reason alone.
Here's what I'm going to go with on that. So I'm going to agree with you and say it's the offense because I have zero respect for Daniel Jones. I just think he sucks.
Right.
All right. But when it comes to this offense, we knew what they were going to do in this game today. Here's Saquon Barkley. Try to stop him. You didn't. Now, did you need Jalen Hurts to play some phenomenal game? Obviously not. Right. But because, Seth, to your point, Saquon Barkley was just going to run all over this Giants defense, and that's what he did today.
Well, I'm going to defer to the offense because I think the offense is the key to this team's performance. You alluded to it, in the first segment where you said, the defense played well, the offense played well. They played complementary football today. So I'm going to defer to the offense because the offense is the side of the ball, in my opinion, that has to continue to climb. If the offense performs well, they're always going to be able to put the defense in a position to play well, opposed to it being the other way around. If the defense is playing well, if the offense ain't having a good day, at some point in time, you bend, you're going to break. And sometimes it may take 1 or 2 plays to be the difference in the game. But when the offense is clicking, it's a whole different outlook. It's a whole different ball game because they can dominate. Like, once the Eagles got up by 2 touchdowns today, it was a wrap. Game was over. The defense just pinned their ears back and went and got Daniel Jones. They shut the run down. This kid, Tyrone Tracy Jr., has been phenomenal. They only gave him the ball 2 times in the entire second half, in the entire first half. So I think the offense is the key.
And you know what? Special teams. Cooper DeGina had a nice return.
Yes, he did.
So there you go. Bailey, great first question. What's next?
Okay, moving on to the second question. Barkley played well. How significant to our offense do you think he is?
I think that if the 2 guys in the middle, Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis, silent day by Jordan Davis. Jalen Carter played a hell of a game today. If I'm going to say that offensively, those 2 guys are the key, then I'm going to stand by my assertion that, they need to make Jalen a little bit of a game manager for a little while. If that's the case, then Saquon is going to be the linchpin. He's got to be the guy that drives the ship.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I don't care that Jalen Hurts only threw 10 or 14 today. I care about the fact of how efficient this offense is running. When you have a running back that can gouge a defense like that, that opens up so many more things that you want to do. And if it's a close game, it makes that offense that much more predictable. So if Saquon can continue to do that, there's no question. There's no question without a doubt he is the engine that runs that offense. There's no question about it.
I look at it like this. I look at A.J. Brown and I look at Saquon Barkley. And this isn't a knock or stretching to rip Jalen Hurts for anything, but here's the deal. When you had guys injured, the one player you could really rely on is Saquon Barkley.
Right.
A.J. Brown is also going to be a big part of that as well because if Jalen Hurts really is going to almost default into a game manager or default into a guy that is going to play point guard, is another phrase we've heard surrounding Jalen Hurts and some other quarterbacks in this league as well, those are 2 great guys to distribute the ball to. And those guys have proven so far they can help carry this team. So I look at Saquon Barkley and I look at A.J. Brown as the guys that will be the focal points of this Eagles offense.
Mark, let me say this. A game, I think that we've evolved to a point where we believe that a game manager actually is a negative connotation, okay? Jalen can still be a game manager and still have some pretty big days. Just as long as the game is the focal point of the offense is run to set up the pass. The one thing that they didn't do, they did a few plays here or there, but in my opinion, if they implement just a little bit of play action pass off of these runs that they're using, then Jalen can have a big day. Because I know from experience, I know from things I've seen in the past that when you're running the ball like that, that's the most demoralizing thing in the world for a defense. The linebackers have to slow down. The tackles have to slow down and honor. The safeties sometimes, their eyes, get caught up in the wrong place. And when you go play action pass, if he's good at hiding the ball and it's really good design, there are plays there to be made.
Fair enough. Bailey, finally, what else are the people in the comments saying?
And for our last questions, we have 2 wins in a row now. How do the Eagles look next week against the Bengals?
Bengals have not been impressed. One of the things that gave me confidence the Eagles would win this game today against the Giants, this Giants offense only scored 7 points against the Bengals, who couldn't stop anybody. And last week we broke it down and we talked about that. We mentioned it. I think the Eagles have righted the ship. After this type of win, a divisional game, coming off a very not impressive win, I'll say that, against the Browns, winning 2 games in a row for the first time since I think it was week 11 and week 12 of last year, going up against the Chiefs and the Bills. They won that game in overtime with that 11-yard scamper by Jalen Hurts. I think this is the Eagles righting the ship. I think we can get back to expecting the Eagles to, in the worst-case scenario, finding ways to win games. Gunnar, what do you look at?
I like the fact that they've put together 2 consecutive wins in 2 different ways to arrive to their end destination. They had to fight tooth and nail to hold off a bad Cleveland team, and they took a Giants team that's almost as bad apart. Now you have to go on the road, and you're going to play a much better quarterback in Joe Burrow. You're going to play much better wide receivers in Cincinnati. You have to play that game in their backyard. If the Eagles continue to build upon what they did today, I expect them to have a good measure of success in Cincinnati next week. But that's going to be more of a shootout type game because Cincinnati's offensive personnel is much better than the 2 teams they just faced to get to 2 consecutive wins.
It is, but if the Eagles continue to play as aggressively as they've played, Cincinnati does not have that great of an offensive line.
Right.
Cincinnati doesn't run the ball all that well. Let me throw some numbers at you today. Cincinnati beat the Browns today by 7 points, 21-14. Okay, on the day, Joe Burrow was 15 for 25, 181 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he was sacked 8 times.
No, 3 times.
3 times.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Uh-huh.
The difference in the game may have been there was a special teams touchdown. I'm not sure whether it's a punt return or a kick return, but that 7 points is the difference in this win. And the Cincinnati Bengals, listen, they're 3-4. It's not like they're setting the house on fire. If the Eagles go in with the same mindset, okay, let's run the football. Let me see. Let me give you some stats here, okay? The Cleveland Browns ran the ball 21 times today and threw it 52 times. Ridiculous. Why would you put the ball in the air that much when you're averaging 3.7 yards, per carry? So if the Eagles go into this game and they decide, okay, we're going to hand the ball off to Saquon and let Saquon do what he does, now you're either going to force Cincinnati to commit the extra guy to the box, which means that you go play action pass and now Jalen can get the short passing game going, or they decide to play coverage to try to take A.J. Brown and Devontae away, and you run the ball down their throats again. So I think the Eagles got a really good shot, at winning these next 2 football games. And if they can go over this stretch, 4-0 and get their record to 6-2, I think they'll be sitting right where they need to be sitting.
Here's a stat that bodes well also for this game coming up next week. Based on stats prior to today's kickoff in the NFL, Cincinnati's given up 146 yards rushing a game.
Oof.
That's all you need to know. They're giving up 146 yards rushing per game. So if I'm the Eagles, what are you going to do? Run that football. All week long, we're going to practice run that football again.
One of my favorite things is when they know what's coming and they still can't stop it. That's when you know you're not only a good thing, but a great thing.
That's right.
Bailey Livesey, thank you so much, our social media correspondent. Appreciate you letting us know what the good people are talking about.
Of course. Thank you, guys.
Absolutely. When we come back, we're going to talk about the drive that changed it all in this game and really helped solidify momentum in the Eagles' favor. That's when we return to the betPARX postgame show presented by Pond Lehocky. Famous beer garden here at Parx Casino. Enjoy a game, enjoy a pint.
Stick to the code. I'm in my zone. Let's go. Let's go. I'm back in my bag. I'm wrecking the wins and it's making them.
You've got your Sunday obsession, and we got you. Now with Verizon, get NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube TV on us and get every out-of-market Sunday game. Plus $800 off Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6. Only on Verizon.
See you Sunday. And the next thing I knew, I woke up in a hospital bed.
Has a friend ever told you a story about an accident and someone says,
you should probably sue them.
Forget your friend. Call Pond Lehocky Giordano.
We're an injury law firm that's recovered billions of dollars for our clients.
And with our vast network of attorneys throughout the country, we know we can do the same for you.
So if you've been injured in an accident, give Pond Lehocky a call.
One conversation is all it takes, and you won't pay a dime until we win.
Sell your car to us, no hassle, no fuss. DavisBuysCars.com.
Did you know that Davis Honda will pay top dollar for your car? Go to DavisBuysCars.com and get an instant quote on your vehicle. We'll make the purchase as easy as possible and put cash in your hand faster than you can say DavisBuysCars.com.
Sell your car to us, no hassle, no fuss. DavisBuysCars.com.
Gentlemen, are you ready for a wardrobe update? Introducing Divine Nine's Custom Menswear, your clothier for truly unique, custom-made threads. With Divine Nine, you can design your own one-of-a-kind suit, jacket, slacks, shirts, golf pants, and shorts, perfectly handcrafted by our skilled artisans who will bring your vision to life. Prepare to stand out from the crowd with Divine Nine's Custom Clothier, official clothier of Seth Joyner. Custom clothing made for you.
This next segment is brought to you by Verizon. Welcome back to the betPARX postgame show presented by Pond Lehocky. New segment here on the postgame show brought to you by our friends at Davis Honda. Looking at the Eagles today, we're going to talk about the drive of the game presented by Davis Honda. And you look at this drive right here. Second quarter, 11:32 to go. Nothing. Eagles decide after a series of punts by both the Eagles and the Giants, unfortunately. They decide to run the ball 5 times in a row. They amass 74 yards, spanning 2 minutes, 34 seconds, capping it off with a 3-yard touchdown run by Saquon Barkley, who brought all of North Jersey with him across the end zone. They were piling on him, and he got the first touchdown of the game right there, his first touchdown against the New York Giants. Seth, here's how it went down. 4 plays and a punt by the Giants, 4 plays and a punt by the Eagles, punt, touchdown. That drive right there changed the whole course of the game, and it made the Eagles go, oh, wait, we can run the football pretty well against this team.
That was the aha moment, and in a lot of ways, we probably can look back a few weeks from now to this drive as the drive that kind of changed the narrative, because we were talking about it. I'm like, why in the world aren't they running the football? Like those first 2 series, they had 4 plays, 17 yards punt. They ran the ball 1 time during that series. They had a 3 and out. They ran it 1 time during that series. The third possession, they had 8 plays, and out of those 8 plays, they actually had 5 runs. So the machinery had already started moving just a little bit. Yeah. The problem was they got in a 3rd and long situation, and Jalen took a 14-yard sack, and that kind of put them under the gun. They come out the next time, boom, 5 running plays in a row and just march the ball right down the field. Saquon rips off, a big 55-yarder, and all of a sudden, everybody in the stadium realized, oh, the Giants about to get run out of here. And over on our sideline, they're thinking to themselves, uh-oh, we might have something today. We might need to feed this beast.
The most impressive thing about the drive of the game was how quick they scored. We're so used to watching the Eagles be methodical up and down the field, 6, 7, 8-minute drives before they punch the ball in. Their first 2 drives both occurred in less than 3 minutes. We don't see that that's often, and that's fine. Early in the game, put the pressure on the opposition. Get up on them. Make them come out of their comfort zone. Whatever their game plan was, make them come out of their comfort zone. In this case, it was making Daniel Jones pass the ball, step back and pass the ball a lot more than he wanted to earlier in the game, because as Seth talked about, I thought Pricey would get the ball a lot more early on in the game to try to balance out that Giants game plan offensively. But because they got down by 2 scores, they had to come out of their game plan real quick, especially because they're an offense that was averaging 16 points a game. They haven't been scoring much as it is. 29 points basically is the most they scored all year in Seattle as a team. And when you made them come down, that's when Fangio pinned back his ears and unleashed the hounds and unleashed the dogs. Oh, by the way, 3 dogs today had great games for the Eagles defense today.
Oh, absolutely.
Listen, before you jump over to the doc, I want to give you guys validity for why they should continue to stick with the run game, okay? So we talked about those possessions. Possessions 3, 8 plays, 22 yards, punt, 5 rushes out of those 8 plays. The next series, they go 5 plays, our drive of the game, touchdown. The next series, they go 6 plays, 58 yards, boom, 41-yarder to A.J. Brown, okay? So then you go into the second half, the 2 touchdown drives that they had, 10 plays, 77 yards.
Jeez.
10 plays, 92 yards, okay? So you use the run game to kind of set up what it is that you want to accomplish long term. Because to your point, D-Gun, they're going to have these long drives more often than they're going to have the explosive plays.
Right.
But the explosive plays is what they covet. They want the deep ball down the field. Now they got Saquon. Maybe they may look at it a little differently and say, hey, we want that big, because he's got runs of, one of you guys got.
Yeah, 55. We were talking about it. 55, 38, and 41.
Right.
That's phenomenal. That's phenomenal to be able to rip off those type of numbers. But they've got to set the table with the run game, in my opinion. And I just hope that they can stick with it and not get into their analytics nonsense and get into their philosophies and all that kind of stuff, and just keep doing what they're doing and allow Jalen to just keep coming along.
Yeah. To add to that, how many times have we seen the Eagles run for no gain and then we see them give up on the run? Their first play of that five play drive was a run for no gain. Next run, 55 yards. That's why you don't give up on it. That's why you don't quit on it. We're going to bring in our sports doc right now, Dr. Bruce Grossinger, to tell us about what's going on with this Eagles team when it comes to injury, and we'll get into Zach Ball, and we'll get into Darius Slay. He looked at one point today to be hobbled, maybe re-aggravated the knee. But, Doc, one question I have to ask you, and it has to do with Sidney Brown, because everyone knows, and Seth can speak to this better than I can, certainly, but everybody knows that an athlete has to get over an injury twice. Once, the physical, get over it. The second is the mental aspect of it. How difficult is it for a guy like Sidney Brown to come back, play on this defense on the same field that he tore his Achilles, 10 months ago, and then he's able to go out there on special teams? We saw him around the ball as a member of the secondary today. What is that mental hurdle like when you're talking to a player like Sidney Brown trying to come back from injury?
Well, unfortunately, I had the pleasure of tearing my own Achilles in 1997. And obviously not an elite athlete, but it's very difficult because, number one, the field is one of the few artificial turf fields. And a lot of people like Mekhi Becton, ironically, didn't even want to come back here. A lot of bad memories from the Jets. But the thing about the Achilles is you can re-tear it. So there is a fear of re-tearing it. And he did come back. And so there is a two-tier. It's a matter of replicating your physical, loading it, and then being able to let it loose in an NFL situation. So I really handed to Sidney Brown. When they drafted a guy at that position, I thought it was a mistake. And frankly, he's been out a while, and to his credit, he's come back. Look at Brandon Graham. We remember he had a slow start in his career, and now he may be one of the best ever. So just focusing on the Achilles, it's slow to heal. The longer it heals, the less likely to re-tear. But kudos to him.
Doc, I don't know if you know this, but we were talking about this, when Sidney Brown had that pass breakup. When they open up a 21-day window for a guy to practice, like they just opened up his 21-day window last week, and all of a sudden they activate him today, and he's actually playing in the game. What is the process for that? Because, has he already been practicing before they actually open up the window? Are they allowed to do that? I'm trying to figure out how that works, because it doesn't make sense to me that he's been out since last year, week 3, I think it is. He's got the Achilles. He gets it operated on, and all of a sudden they open up a 1-week window, and boom, he's ready to play right away.
That's a great question. I presume that he's been training on his own, probably off-site, but under the watchful eye of the trainers from the Eagles. They wouldn't just throw somebody back. So I would say he clearly has been ramping it up, and it might be an administrative decision, so to speak, that he's coming back with such a short time. But I guarantee there's been a long rampway, and he has been practicing a lot on his own, and they feel confident that he's not going to re-tear that Achilles.
Zach Ball, of course, banged up his shoulder in today's game. Rough hit on the outside there. Anything you know about Zach Ball and anything you're hearing?
I don't know per se, but what they're going to do is MRIs are readily available. He'll get an MRI tomorrow to make sure there's no tear. There's no separation of the acromioclavicular joint, no tear of the rotator cuff. And if everything is stable, then he'll just go back. He'll probably wear a sling, and he'll get a lot of ice and a lot of PT and hopefully range of motion. And he's your best tackler on the team. So hopefully he'll be back for that Bengals game next week.
And then Darius Slay also today. He didn't leave. He left the game for a short time, came back. We were talking about that knee injury last week. Of course, he was day-to-day after the win over the Browns. When you're talking about Darius Slay possibly re-aggravating that same knee injury again, what's your concern there?
I don't have any indication that there's any new structural anatomic injuries. We know he has a chronic strain of that knee, and he plays a very ballistic position. So I'll be optimistic. He's going to get a lot of ice, a lot of PT. They'll probably keep him out of practice until the end of the week. But I think Slay will be back. I think he'll go full bore. Mekhi Becton, obviously, you mentioned in your postgame show, and that's something we could elaborate relating to his concussion.
So you bring up Mekhi Becton. So that's one. And then obviously, I just want to touch on Jordan Mailata, because we talked about him last week, and your hope was that it wasn't a grade 3, a grade 4 hamstring injury. Obviously, that's the case. by the time we get through this 4-week process of him being on injury reserve, will he be ready to play after 4 weeks, or do you perceive that it may take a little longer to get him back?
It all depends on the amount of tearing. So basically the hamstrings, there's a certain diameter of muscle fibers. So it has to do with the amount of percentage of tearing, and we don't know that. But like you allude to, we were hoping it was a grade 1 or even a grade 2. This is a grade 3, which is non-surgical, and this puts us at another 4 weeks. So there's no guarantees, of course, with a hamstring, and we know we don't want him to run into the effects of scarring, calcifications, those kind of changes. A lot like Avonte Maddox has. He's not playing now, but partially is due to his own play, but partially due to the chronic structural changes of his calf and hamstring. For a guy as important and as large as Jordan, I think they used an abundance of caution, and there's no guarantees. If they literally thought that he can't be back in 4 weeks, then we're going to be concerned, and we don't know for sure.
Dr. Bruce Grossier, thank you so much for joining us. We greatly appreciate it, as per usual, and obviously go Birds, sir. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much. Great win today. Have a great day.
You as well. Dr. Bruce Grossier, our sports doc, joining us right there to break it all down. I do have a concern, and I know the Eagles secondary is great, and when you look at what they could be facing, what they're going to be facing next week against Cincinnati Bengals, we were talking about at the last break, there's a lot of talent in that receiving core of the Cincinnati Bengals. Quentin Mitchell continues to impress.
No question.
And it's like almost too good to be true if you're an Eagles fan and you've watched the cornerbacks that have been drafted by Howie Roseman. You're looking at Cooper DeJean. You're looking at Quentin Mitchell, Sidney Brown coming back. Obviously not a corner, but a safety. And then Darius Slay has played at a great level throughout his career. Looks to be slowing down right now. Unfortunately, it is a concern when you see him hobbling again with the knee injury. Coming back in the game, though, to continue to fight. This Eagles secondary, though, Seth, has been up to the task pretty much all season long.
Well, I think we talked about it incessantly over the first 4 weeks of the season and talked about how you position your players, the mindset that you give them because of how you call plays and how you require them to play absolutely changes their mindset and their level of aggression and how they play on the field. The last 2 weeks, Vic Fangio has been aggressive-minded, not only from a blitz standpoint, but D. Gunn asked me today while we were watching the game, have you ever seen the Eagles cornerbacks up playing as much press coverage as they played today? Well, that's the way the game should be played. Now, there's a time to play off, but you got to live up and you got to move up. You got to put guys in position where they can challenge throws across the board. Now, they're going into Cincinnati. They're going to be playing against a really good set of wide receivers, okay? So you can go in with this fearful mindset that we don't want to get beat over the top, or you can rely on your safeties to get their behinds over the top and get your cornerbacks up and play aggressive and challenge these guys at the line of scrimmage. Quinyon Mitchell's up for the task. Darius Slay, I'm going to give him props because he played a good game today, okay? Listen, if I beat a player up, then I'll certainly lift him up, when they go the other direction. He played a great game today, so I'm going to give him his props today. He challenged across the board. He was good in tackling, didn't miss any tackles. Great game, Darius. He seems up for the challenge because I guarantee you those conversations have been happening behind the scenes that if guys don't start stepping up from a meritocracy standpoint, next guy up. We're just going to move him in and play him. That seems to be the mindset at this point in time. So that being said, you don't go into this game with a passive mindset. You go in this game with your mind locked in the same way that you had it locked in for the last 2 weeks. The Cincinnati Bengals do not have a good offensive line, okay? We're going to attack Joe Burrow. They don't run the ball well. I think me and D. Gunn was just talking about it at the last break. They ran it 25 times for something like
59 yards.
59 yards, okay? They averaged 2.4 yards per carry today. So there's no reason for you to have to worry about what you got to do in the run game because they don't run it effectively. Now, you still got to stop it, and you still got to make them one-dimensional. But my point is stay aggressive. Keep your cornerbacks up. Keep your safeties up. Keep everybody up challenging people at the line of scrimmage because even though they didn't get any turnovers today, the young kid, Quinyon, got his hand on another ball today. Sooner or later, they're going to start getting the punch-outs. They're going to start getting the interceptions because it's impossible for you to play from an aggressive standpoint or aggressive posture and for those things not to happen. It's impossible. So even Nick Sirianni talked about it. We need to start creating some more turnovers on the defensive side of the ball. Well, the way you're going to do it is to continue to play aggressively, and then those things will fall in place.
I am so looking forward to seeing these young kids in the secondary of the Eagles go up against Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Zach Moss, because they all have that sixth sense with Joe Burrow. They've been with him for a while. So the chess match is, how will they match up across the board with this trio of receivers? It's going to be, and you heard me talk about every game is a stepping stone in the right direction for young players. Even if they make mistakes, you go back and study the film. You sit down with your position coaches, your coordinators. What do I need to do differently? What's my technique? What's my weakness in my technique to work on? They're going to work on that technique all week long and get ready for a much better collection of pass catchers overall that they faced the last couple of games. I can't wait to see the matchup between the two.
We talked about Malik Neighbors going into this game. I referenced his 242 yards that he had against the NFC East. Well, today, of course, the Eagles had their way with him. Just 4 receptions for 41 yards. He put up 115 against the Cowboys. He put up 127 against the Commanders. Didn't happen today against the Eagles secondary. When we come back, Derrick Gunn, you've referenced this. The Dogs had a good day. Today.
Dogs
and some other dogs had good games as well. We'll break that down as part of the betPARX postgame show presented by Pond Lehocky right here from Parx Casino when we return. Parx Sportsbook had the Eagles favored by 3 points today. They certainly outdid that.
Pride, passion, and persistence. These are the values that drive us all at Ron Jaworski Golf. We strive to deliver outstanding conditions as well as playability for golfers of all ages and abilities. Our championship golf courses offer a variety of challenges, from a link-style walk along the river to an escape into the pines and everything in between. My team at Ron Jaworski Golf is committed to delivering memorable experiences every single day. See all we do at ronjaworskigolf.com.
It's happening again. Those missed tackles are starting to stack up. Your friends pleading with players who can't hear them, sweating it out week after week. But not you. Why? Because whether they score or not, there's always another way to win on the betPARX app. New casino users score up to $1,000 bonus back in their first 24 hours.
At Pond Lehocky, we're neither a pond nor a hockey team. In fact, I don't even know how to skate.
Cut.
We're the injury law firm that you want fighting for you.
With our vast network of attorneys across the country, we know the playbook on injury law.
It's how Pond Lehocky recovered billions of dollars for more than 100,000 injured and disabled workers.
And we know we can do the same for you.
So give Pond Lehocky a call. No other law firm will fight harder for you.
And you'll never pay a dime until we win.
Stick to the code. I'm in my zone. Let's go. I'm back in my bag. I'm wrecking the wins and it's making them.
You've got your Sunday obsession, and we got you. Now with Verizon, get NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube TV on us and get every out-of-market Sunday game. Plus $800 off Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6. Only on Verizon.
See you Sunday.
This upcoming segment is brought to you by Stay at Home Home Care. Welcome back to Parx Casino for the betPARX postgame show presented by Pond Lehocky. Eagles fans, of course, excited. Always exciting whenever you blow out the Giants on their own turf with a guy that used to be their running back. I don't know if you guys heard about that or not. But the Eagles get the 28-3 victory over the Giants. And one of the things we've only touched on to this point is, oh my goodness gracious, the Philadelphia Eagles get after Daniel Jones today in a big way. 8 sacks in total, 1 on Drew Lock. 7 on Daniel Jones today. And when you talk about dem dogs, Derrick Gunn, as you mentioned, Nakobe Dean, 2 sacks. Jalen Carter, 2 sacks. Nolan Smith, a sack. Bryce, not a dog, Bryce Huff, a full sack today, a big boy sack. Not the I touched his toe as he was being sacked by somebody else credit, but a full-blown sack today for him. Josh Sweat also got a sack. And how about Jalix Hunt? Jalix Hunt getting in on the action as part of those 8 sacks today. Not too shabby, Gunner.
You know what? I can't even get on Bryce Huff today. I'm just happy he got a clean sack in his game. Everybody in America has been dogging this young man. You know what? He finally got his due today. This entire defense across the board, we're feeding, man. That feeding frenzy started once they figured out what they could do against this offensive line, which basically was anything they wanted to do. They just kept and let's face it, the constant pressure that Vic Fangio's guys put on Daniel Jones was highly instrumental in Daniel Jones being unable to set his feet and the survey situation and go off of primary receiver and get to 2 and 3, because by the time he would look at 2, he had to step up or step out of the way to try to avoid a sack. So kudos to the Dogs and Bryce Huff, an adopted dog as well, of getting 8 sacks today against the Giants quarterback.
I'll tell you what, they get a reprieve from me for the week because I didn't think, that we'd see this kind of pressure out of this team.
Right.
They had a pretty good day last week. Didn't they have 4 sacks last week?
Yep.
So, 12 sacks in 2 games?
Not bad.
That's pretty darn impressive. Mm-hmm. So something's going on over there. Something's happening over there. There's some coaching that's going on that all of a sudden they start getting there. But you got to give these guys credit because not only were they very good, rushing the passer, but they dominated, against the run. Because like I said, this kid Tyrone Tracy Jr., he's a heck of a player. They held him to 23 yards today, and the Giants overall 18 for 76 yards. People look at it and say 4.2 yards per carry, but when you hold a team that far under 100 yards, right, that's a very big deal. That plays into why Daniel Jones had such a pedestrian day. 14 for 21 for 99 yards passing the ball. That's a hell of a defensive performance.
Now, you spoke beautifully and going into the break talking about the press coverage. This is the best sack performance the Eagles have had all year, and actually in quite some time. There's got to be a direct tie-in here, no?
Well, there's always a tie-in. Listen, football's not that complicated. It really isn't. Defensively, the one thing you have to do is you got to get an offense's run game under control. Because when they run the ball, the way you saw our offense run the ball, it can potentially open up, avenues to everything else in your playbook. And your playbook is wide open when you run the football. Yeah. So the first thing you got to do is you have to get the run game under control. Once you make them one-dimensional, now all of a sudden you can tighten your coverage because you know that the ball's coming. In a lot of instances when you're not running the ball well, teams are trying to look at getting into rhythm with the short to intermediate throws. That's why you get up and you press and you force the quarterback to make tight window throws and really precise, accurate throws. They always go hand in hand. They're symbiotic. When you're rushing the passer well, then it's easier to play coverage on the back end. When you're playing coverage well, because you're challenging the wide receivers and the quarterback is having to come off of his initial read and go to a second or third read, that gives the defensive lineman extra time to work their pass rush and get to the quarterback. So they all work hand in hand. They're not singular in how you describe them. They work hand to hand. Show me a football team that's got a bunch of sacks, and I'll show you a secondary that plays pretty damn good. Show me a team that's pretty good in pass coverage, and I'll show you a defensive line that pressures the quarterback, be it through just a straight rush or a defensive coordinator with the mindset that we're going to speed up his clock and we're coming with pressure.
This might be in the, 5 games that we've done already, this might be the least we've talked about Jalen Hurts. Now, it's true, we're talking about Saquon Barkley, we're talking about the coaching, we're talking about defense, how well the defense played in today's game. We've obviously had our share of guests. Brian Westbrook joined us earlier in the show as well. When you talk about Jalen Hurts, if you're showing me after the game that Jalen Hurts was only 10 for 14, and you're showing me that stat sheet, that this is what he did today, I'm going to say, at what point during the game did he get hurt? At what point during the game did he get taken out? Because there's no way an Eagles offense is going to be calling that few pass plays. Now, he was sacked 4 times. There were instances where it looked like he was holding on to the ball too long. There were certainly scrambles. But overall, when you look at Jalen Hurts' performance tonight, you talk about a guy being the point guard or a guy being the game manager. That's all they needed from Jalen Hurts today.
I'm going to say this, and some people may not agree. I don't care. If you look at how the Eagles try to run the ball in the middle, they don't have a lot of success. the majority of the pressure that Jalen is under when he's trying to pass the ball is coming up the middle. I'm convinced that they're not as strong in the middle as they've been in previous years. They're just not. They're not.
The offensive line isn't as strong.
They're not. They are not playing. The center and the two guards are not playing at the level that they've played at, the last 3-4 years. That's just a fact. All you got to do is watch the film. Just watch the film. And to your point, Mark, I don't care whether Jalen Hurts, has an outstanding day or not.
Yeah.
The time is going to come where this offense is going to need him to, but we're trying to work through, some things that didn't look good early in the season. We're trying to rectify some things. We're trying to figure out what our identity is going to be as an offense. And until they do that, and there's plenty of time left. There's 11 games left on this schedule, 11 games left in the regular season. There's time to get right. And what I'm hoping is that when they need for Jalen to have a 300-yard passing day and for A.J. Brown to have two touchdowns and Devontae Smith to have 2, that he's able to do it at that time. They're just not there right now. So you gotta do what you gotta do to get you over or get you by until you can get to where you really want to be.
In this offense today, Jalen functioned the way he needed to. He made a big throw when he had to, especially the touchdown to A.J. He completed 10 out of the 14 times he was asked to throw the football.
What's that percentage-wise?
Well,
like 80%?
At least. Yeah, I got to figure it out, man.
I was told there'd be no math.
So I'll say it again. I don't care if he doesn't throw the ball 30, 40 times. I don't care about fantasy points. I don't care about individual stats. I care about the final results, the W's or the L's. And in this case, all he had to do was to be a facilitator. He didn't have to be the show. He made one big run where he escaped. That's what he was called to do at that time. He could have been sacked on that play. He made a big run, kept the drive going, it led to another touchdown, okay? If he has to be a facilitator, a manager, whatever the case he has to be, if he's not turning the football over, so be it. If they're getting the W's more than the L's, so be it. I don't care what he has to be on any given day. There will be those times, and we're going to see coming up, he's going to have to put up the ball 25, 35 times. Today wasn't one of those days, and there's going to be other games down the road. He's not going to have to throw the ball that much as well.
Yeah, there was my overall takeaway from it. Also, by the way, I left out 2 touchdowns on two tush pushes, by the way.
Most important? The most important stat of the day for Jalen Hurts?
No turnovers.
0 turnovers.
That's right.
And really, no balls in harm's way for the second week in a row.
Even better. One thing I do look at from Jalen Hurts, though, for both these games, I'm willing to take a couple game manager games from Jalen Hurts. I'm willing to take a couple of games where he doesn't even come close to turning the football over if that means you're getting back to a guy. I hate to use this term because it's become negative. If he needs to be the hero, he can be the hero. And that, for me, when you do say the word game or the phrase game manager, a game manager is a guy that won't lose you a game, but he's not going to win it. He's not going to do anything drastic to win. He's not going to do anything drastic to lose. He just manages the game. Jalen has the ability, and I know you've said this earlier, but Jalen has the ability to take over a game. We haven't seen it in a while, but he has the ability to take over a game. So when I look at the stat sheet today, I say, fine. If that's what he's going to do and still come away, by the way, with 2 touchdowns, I'm fine with that. He didn't turn the football over, and he played smart.
Well, actually, 3 total. 2 rushing and 1 passing.
Yeah.
But there are some that's still not going to be happy with that. That's kind of what I'm addressing.
Right.
Because, when I go on WIP tomorrow, I'm sure there's going to be callers and people going to be talking about we won the game, we scored 28 points, but Jalen Hurts was 10 for 14 for 110 yards and 1 touchdown. That's not going to win you many games. It won this one. That's all that matters.
That's all that matters.
All right. Now, usually towards the end of the show, we'll talk about game balls. Who would get a game ball today? I think we'd all agree Saquon gets a nice game ball today. Maybe Vic Fangio for the defensive scheme.
I'd give Vic Fangio a game ball.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. So I'm just going to do this. With all the things that went right for the Eagles today, Gunnar, I'll ask you this question first. The best part of the game for you today, the most meaningful part of the game for you today, what do you take away from this Eagles victory today? You say, you know what? I need to see that again next week going up against the Bengals, and I hope I see that again the rest of the season.
Run the ball. Run the ball. Pound away at the opposition. Make them quit. Run the football. You have one of arguably the top 3 running backs in the game today back there toting that rock. And he showed in this game he doesn't need 25, 30 carries to achieve big numbers. All he needs is a seam because of his power and his strength. He can shake tackles, and once he's in open field, it's miserable for the opposition. Run the football. Run it down people's throats until they make you stop.
All right, let's take running the football off the board after Derrick Gunn. Seth Joyner, what do you want to see?
Stay aggressively on the defense. Stay aggressive on the defensive side of the football. I agree with Derrick 100% offensively, but you asked me defensively. If they just continue to stay aggressive and keep their DBs challenging people at the line of scrimmage when possible, then it will only end up, in good things happening for this defense.
I think when you look at this offense, you know what the bread and butter is going to be. And there were a couple instances today where I screamed with excitement over things that we normally don't see. And that was the check down from Jalen Hurts to Saquon Barkley at the line of scrimmage. Actually, I think it was Kenny Gainwell. And he got 3 or 4 yards there. Normally, we don't see that from Jalen Hurts. We saw that today. Obviously, the turnover game, we've talked about that a lot with Jalen Hurts over the last year. Unfortunately, you shouldn't be as excited to see your quarterback not turn the football over as we had Jalen Hurts the last 2 games. The other, the play-action play, where Saquon Barkley was lined up next to Jalen Hurts in the backfield. They faked the run up the middle. They faked the halfback draw. He went right over the middle of the field to a slanting A.J. Brown. That is not something we see enough. If I get those plays for the remainder of the season, I think that opens up a whole other can of worms for opposing defenses that the Eagles are going to be facing. So for that, for me, that was something incredible. Seth, before we get out of here, I know you want to say something.
Yes, we've so we're going to expand the show in the coming weeks. We got some giveaways. I know you guys love giveaways. We've got, some sweet tickets to 2 games. We've got some swag we're going to give away, some jerseys. We got some footballs, some signed footballs we're going to give away. And you guys see my logo down there in the bottom right of your screen, bottom left probably as far as how you're looking at it.
You had it right.
Bottom right. I've got some hats, with my logo on it. So we're going to have some giveaways, in the coming weeks. Stay tuned. Probably next week we'll start to promote it a little more. We'll have some of the stuff up here for you guys to see. Obviously, it'll be social media driven. I'm going to rely on my social media people to kind of figure out, how to do that. But we're trying to spice the show up as much as we can. Bring as much excitement as we can, and we know that people, love the variety of segments and things that we bring for the show, but you also love to get some free stuff, and I like free stuff.
Hey,
I love free stuff.
Are Mark and I eligible for this free stuff?
No, you're not eligible for it.
Well, why not?
You're employees of the show, man. How you get?
Come on, man.
It ain't happening.
Brother, get a break.
You know more people over the Eagles than I do, man. You get free tickets anytime you want.
I know nothing about this, Seth.
Oh, there we go.
I would love Gunner. I can't do the pre and post today. I'll be at the game.
Gunner, where
enjoying myself.
I'm on the field right now. I can't hear you too well.
No, but that's also, I'm sure we'll stay tuned to Seth Joyner, of course, to your social media accounts and whatnot, and right here on the Seth Joyner Show YouTube channel to keep track of all the things that will be giving away, things you have a chance to win as viewers and supporters of this program. We thank you guys so much for that. For Seth Joyner, for Derrick Gunn, and for your Philadelphia Eagles, wiping the floor with the New York Giants up there at MetLife Stadium to the tune of 28-3 and improving to 4-2 on the regular season. We appreciate you guys joining us right here from Parx Casino, presented by Pond Lehocky. We'll catch you guys next week after yet another 1 o'clock kickoff, this one against the Bengals. See you guys then.
Way to fly, birds. Way to fly.